The silver transport pod streaked through Earth's atmosphere, trailing fire and debris. Inside, Commander Tessa Valen fought desperately with the failing navigation system, her six-fingered hands moving with practiced precision across the flickering control panel. System failure imminent, the ship's AI announced with maddening calm. Recommend immediate evacuation. Override, Tessa commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos. The metallic sheen of her skin caught the emergency lights as sweat beaded along her temple. Divert remaining power to landing thrusters. She had been fleeing for 3 cycles, what humans would call weeks, ever since her public challenge of the High Council's decision to abandon the outer colonies. As second commander of the Caldarian Defense Force, her word carried weight. Too much weight, apparently, for the comfort of the Council. Commander Valen, you are hereby stripped of rank and exiled for sedition against the collective good, High Counselor Joreth had pronounced, his perfect face betraying no emotion, the Caldarian ideal. They had always prided themselves on control. Discipline. The suppression of base emotions for logical clarity. Tessa had spent her entire life embodying these principles, rising through military ranks with unmatched tactical brilliance. Until she witnessed the suffering of the colonists firsthand. Until she felt something the Caldarians had trained out of themselves for generations, compassion. The ship bucked violently, throwing her against the restraints. The forest below rushed toward her with terrifying speed. Impact in 5 seconds, the AI intoned. Tessa closed her eyes, feeling a rush of emotions she'd been taught to suppress, fear, regret, anger. If she survived, perhaps that would be her final rebellion against Caldarian ways. The impact came with a deafening crash, tearing metal and shattering glass. Pain lanced through her body before darkness claimed her. Ethan Reed was cataloging plant specimens when the sky lit up. Living alone in the research cabin for the past 8 months, he'd grown accustomed to the quiet rhythm of the forest. The meteor, at least that's what he initially thought it was, streaked overhead and crashed somewhere to the north. Curiosity overrode caution. Grabbing his emergency kit and a flashlight, he headed toward the column of smoke rising above the treeline. What he found wasn't a meteor but something manufactured, sleek silver metal, twisted and broken, half buried in disturbed earth. Steam hissed from ruptured cooling systems. "Hello?" he called, approaching cautiously. "Anyone there?" A section of the craft had split open, revealing an interior unlike anything he'd seen before. And inside, slumped over what appeared to be a control console, was a figure. Ethan moved closer, medical training taking over. The figure was humanoid but clearly not human, skin with a faint metallic sheen, features elegant but alien. Female, he thought, though making assumptions about extraterrestrial biology seemed foolish. Blood, dark blue rather than red, trickled from a wound at her temple. She was unconscious but breathing. "Hey," he said softly, reaching out to check her pulse. "Can you hear me?" The moment his fingers touched her wrist, her eyes flew open, startlingly vivid purple irises focusing on him with laser intensity. She recoiled, speaking rapidly in a language his ears couldn't quite process, musical and complex. "Easy," Ethan said, raising his hands to show they were empty. "I'm not going to hurt you." She switched to English, her accent precise but strange. "Where am I? Who are you?" "My name is Ethan Reed." "You're on Earth. Your ship crashed." Her eyes widened momentarily before her expression smoothed into careful neutrality. "Tessa Valen," she replied, then winced as she tried to move. "You're injured. Let me help you." Suspicion flickered across her face. "Why would you help me?" The question seemed genuinely puzzling to her, which Ethan found oddly sad. "Because you need it," he answered simply. Something in her posture shifted, a barely perceptible relaxation. "The Caldarian Council believes humans are primitive, violent creatures," she said, studying his face. Unworthy of diplomatic contact. Ethan's mouth quirked into a half-smile. We can be. But we have our moments. He extended his hand again, slowly. Can you walk? My cabin isn't far. Tessa hesitated, then placed her six-fingered hand in his. The moment their skin touched, she gasped softly, a fleeting expression of surprise crossing her face before she controlled it. What's wrong? Ethan asked. Nothing, she said quickly. But something had happened, a rush of warmth spreading up her arm, a sensation both foreign and strangely compelling. Something no proper Caldarian should feel. As he helped her from the wreckage, Tessa realized she had more to fear than just her pursuers. Something about this human triggered reactions in her body that went against everything she'd been taught. And for the first time in her disciplined life, she wasn't sure she wanted to fight it. For 3 days, Ethan nursed Tessa back to health. His cabin, a research outpost funded by the university where he once taught, became a sanctuary for them both. She watched him curiously as he prepared meals, fascinated by this human who lived alone yet seemed at peace. Your species seeks community, Tessa observed, sitting at his kitchen table. Yet you live in isolation. Why? Ethan stirred a pot of stew, considering her question. 2 years ago, my wife died. Cancer. I couldn't face the sympathetic looks, the empty conversations. So I took this research position. He shrugged. Sometimes solitude is easier than pretending you're okay. Tessa felt an unexpected ache at his words. Caldarians prided themselves on emotional control, yet this human's raw honesty stirred something in her. My people believe attachment leads to irrational decisions, she said. We're taught to value the collective over individual bonds. And you? Ethan asked, setting a bowl before her. What do you believe? Their fingers brushed during the exchange. That strange warmth flooded through Tessa again, more intense this time, radiating from her fingertips up her arm and settling low in her abdomen. She withdrew quickly, confusion etched on her face. I believed in our principles until I saw them used to justify abandoning thousands, she admitted. Now, I'm not certain of anything. Later that night, Tessa stood outside under the stars. Earth's single moon cast silver light across the clearing, so different from the 3 moons of her homeworld. She flexed her healing arm, testing its strength. Couldn't sleep? Ethan's voice came from behind her. Caldarians require less rest than humans, she explained, turning to face him. He'd thrown on a jacket over his sleeping clothes, hair tousled from bed. Something about his disheveled appearance triggered another wave of warmth through her body. Your physiology fascinates me, Ethan said, approaching with scientific curiosity. The metallic quality of your skin, your cellular structure. I've analyzed your blood samples. Your DNA has triple helix components. Our scientists determined humans were genetically inferior, Tessa replied, then immediately regretted her words. I apologize. That was honest, Ethan finished, smiling. I appreciate honesty. They stood side by side, gazing upward. Ethan pointed out constellations while Tessa identified which distant stars contained Caldarian colonies. That one, she said, indicating a faint blue star. My home system. Do you miss it? The question caught her off guard. It would be illogical to feel attachment to a place that rejected me. Feelings aren't always logical, Ethan countered softly. When he turned to face her, moonlight illuminated his features. The controlled part of Tessa wanted to step back, to maintain the proper distance. Instead, she found herself moving closer. May I? She asked, raising her hand toward his face. He nodded, eyes curious. Her fingertips traced the contours of his jaw. The sensation intensified, heat flowing through her veins, heart rate accelerating. Caldarian training demanded she analyze these reactions clinically, but something deeper, more primal, resisted categorization. Your touch causes physiological responses I cannot explain, she whispered. Ethan's pulse jumped beneath her fingers. Is it unpleasant? No, Tessa admitted. The opposite. His hand gently covered hers. The contact sent a shiver down her spine, another new sensation. Warning signals flashed in her mind. This connection violated everything she'd been taught about emotional discipline. Tessa, Ethan said softly, whatever's happening between us. A distant sound interrupted them, the distinctive hum of engines. Tessa stiffened, instantly alert. We need to go inside, she said urgently. Now. What is it? Kaldarian scouts. Fear gripped her, not for herself, but for him. My people aren't supposed to interact with humans. If they find you with me, they'll see it as contamination. As Ethan quickly gathered emergency supplies, Tessa gazed once more at the night sky. The stars that once represented order and control now seemed cold and distant compared to the warmth she'd found in this human's presence. Whatever was happening to her body, this fire that sparked at his touch, was forbidden by her society. But as they retreated into the shadows of the forest, Tessa realized she no longer cared about Kaldarian rules. Something ancient was awakening within her, something her people had tried to eradicate through centuries of genetic manipulation and rigid conditioning. And for the first time in her life, Commander Tessa Valen embraced the chaos of uncertainty. They fled deeper into the forest, finding shelter in a small cave system Ethan used for geological research. The narrow entrance concealed them from aerial scanners while offering multiple escape routes. They won't give up easily, Tessa explained, checking the makeshift perimeter sensors. Desertion is punishable by mind wipe. Interaction with lesser species compounds the sentence. Ethan unpacked their supplies in the dim light. Lesser species? That's flattering. Kaldarian arrogance, she said with unexpected bitterness. Our supposed evolutionary superiority justifies our isolation policies. Yet here you are, hiding with one of us primitives. Their eyes met across the small space, and Tessa felt that now familiar heat intensify. Being in close quarters magnified whatever strange connection existed between them. I need to explain something, she said, sitting across from him. Since meeting you, my body has been experiencing reactions. Heightened temperature, accelerated pulse, sensory sensitivity. Ethan's expression shifted to scientific interest. Medical symptoms? No. They only occur when we're in proximity. Especially when we touch. His eyes widened with understanding. Like attraction? Kaldarians engineered such responses out of our genetics centuries ago, Tessa explained. Reproduction is clinical, detached. These sensations shouldn't be possible. Ethan moved closer, his voice soft. May I try something? At her nod, he slowly reached for her hand. When their fingers intertwined, the reaction was immediate, waves of warmth cascading through her body, nerves lighting up with sensation. Your pulse just doubled, he observed. And your skin, it's changing color. Tessa looked down, shocked to see the metallic sheen of her skin developing a rosy gold hue where they touched. The change spread up her arm like liquid fire. This isn't possible, she whispered. What's happening to you? There are ancient texts, forbidden histories, that mention something called the awakening, Tessa said, memories of secret archives surfacing. Stories claim our ancestors could form bioenergetic bonds with compatible species. Compatible how? Genetically, spiritually, the texts were vague. The capability was supposedly bred out during the purification era. Ethan's thumb traced circles on her palm, sending tingling sensations up her arm. Apparently not completely. That night, as Tessa kept watch, she felt her body changing. Enhanced senses detected sounds and scents previously unnoticed. Her skin's sensitivity intensified. Most alarming were the dreams, vivid images of intertwining with Ethan, their bodies merging in ways both physical and energetic. She woke to find him studying her, concern evident in his eyes. "Your eyes," he said. "They've changed color." Checking her reflection in his tablet, Tessa saw violet eyes now flecked with gold, another sign of transformation. "The awakening is progressing," she whispered. "I should be terrified." "Are you?" "No," she admitted. "For the first time, I feel alive." Without conscious decision, she leaned forward, pressing her lips to his. The contact ignited an explosion of sensation, heat rushing through her veins, her skin glowing with golden light. Ethan gasped against her mouth, clearly feeling the energy transfer. When they separated, both breathless, Tessa saw wonder in his eyes. "That was..." he began. "Enlightenment," she finished. "My people speak of it as theoretical, the moment consciousness expands beyond physical limitations." Ethan's hand cupped her cheek, triggering another wave of golden light. "Your species gave this up." "Why?" "Control," Tessa said. "The bond creates vulnerability. Interdependence. Everything our society rejects." They moved together again, hesitation dissolving as the ancient connection strengthened. Each touch revealed new sensations, Tessa's awareness expanding to feel Ethan's heartbeat as if it were her own, to sense his emotions flowing into her consciousness. Later, as they lay entwined, her luminescent skin casting golden light through the cave, Tessa understood the truth. Her exile wasn't punishment, it was liberation. The Kaldarian Council hadn't simply feared her questioning, they'd feared what she might become if freed from their constraints. "They'll sense the energy signature," she murmured against Ethan's chest. "The awakening releases quantum patterns detectable across light years. We'll face them together," he promised. Tessa closed her eyes, feeling new abilities unfurling within her cells. Whatever came next, whatever hunters her former people sent, she would protect this human who had awakened her true nature. For the first time in her life, Commander Tessa Valen had found something worth fighting for beyond duty and logic. She had found freedom in the very connection her people had tried to eradicate. And the fire that now burned between them would light their path forward, even through darkness. 3 Kaldarian scout ships landed in the clearing near Ethan's abandoned cabin. Commander Lorith stepped out first, his silver uniform gleaming in the morning light. Behind him, 5 elite trackers deployed scanning equipment. "Commander," called one tracker, residual energy signatures detected. Consistent with protobond formation. Loritha's expression hardened. "Impossible. Subject Valen cannot have activated ancestral genetics. The modifications are permanent." "Evidence suggests otherwise, sir. These readings indicate Phase 3 awakening." "Find them," Lorith ordered. "Priority Alpha. The Council wants this contained before others learn what's possible." Miles away, Tessa sensed their arrival like an electric current across her skin. Her transformation had advanced, skin permanently tinged with gold, eyes vibrant purple gold, senses heightened beyond Kaldarian norms. "They've brought a containment unit," she told Ethan as they moved through dense undergrowth. "They fear what I'm becoming." "What exactly are you becoming?" Ethan asked, keeping pace beside her. "According to forbidden texts, a transcendent, a Kaldarian who can channel and transfer energy between compatible beings. The ability was considered too dangerous, too unpredictable." "Dangerous how?" Tessa stopped, taking his hand. Immediately, golden light flowed between them. "Feel that? I can share energy, enhance your strength, speed, healing capacity. Early Kaldarians could even transfer consciousness. That's why they're hunting you," Ethan realized. "Your existence challenges their control. The Council claims our greatness comes from genetic purity and emotional discipline," Tessa said. I prove their foundation is a lie. They reached higher ground where Tessa assembled communication equipment salvaged from her crash. I need to contact someone, an old ally who might help. While she worked, Ethan kept watch. The forest had gone unnaturally quiet, animal life sensing the alien presence. Movement, he whispered suddenly. 2 o'clock, approximately 50 meters. Tessa straightened, eyes scanning the terrain. Trackers. They found us. The first energy blast struck nearby, singeing tree bark. Tessa pushed Ethan behind her, raising her hand instinctively. To both their shock, a shield of golden energy materialized, deflecting the second blast. I didn't know you could do that, Ethan gasped. Neither did I, she admitted, equally surprised by her new abilities. 3 Caldarian trackers emerged, weapons raised. Unlike Tessa's now golden skin, theirs remained metallic silver, cold and uniform. Commander Valen, the lead tracker, announced. By order of the High Council, you are to be contained and returned for purification. I no longer answer to the Council, Tessa replied, her voice resonating with newfound power. The human has contaminated you, said another tracker. Your judgment is compromised. My judgment has never been clearer, Tessa countered. Lower your weapons. I don't want to harm you. Instead, they fired simultaneously. Tessa's energy shield expanded, protecting both herself and Ethan. With her free hand, she sent a pulse of golden energy that knocked the trackers backward. Run, she told Ethan. They fled deeper into the mountains, trackers in pursuit. Tessa felt her powers growing with each passing hour, ancient abilities awakening faster than she could understand them. By nightfall, they reached a high ridge overlooking a valley. Exhausted, Ethan collapsed against a boulder while Tessa kept watch. You should leave me, he said between labored breaths. They want you, not me. Tessa knelt beside him, taking his face in her hands. No. The bond between us, it sustains me now. Breaking it would reverse everything. Their eyes met in the moonlight. Without words, they understood what had happened between them, something beyond physical attraction or even alien biology. Something profound. Will you share yourself with me again? She asked softly. The connection strengthens my abilities. In answer, Ethan pulled her closer. Their lips met, and golden light enveloped them both. Energy flowed between their bodies, their minds, their souls, completing another stage of the awakening. Tessa felt her consciousness expanding, accessing knowledge buried in Caldarian genetic memory. She understood now what her ancestors had discovered, that true evolution came not through isolation but through connection. As dawn broke, Commander Lorith himself found them, backed by his full contingent. Valen, he called. This ends now. Tessa rose, her body glowing with golden light. Yes, she agreed. It does. She raised both hands, drawing energy from the earth beneath her, from the air around her, from her bond with Ethan. The mountain itself seemed to respond to her call, the ground trembling. For the first time in centuries, a fully awakened Caldarian stood ready to defend her chosen bond, and the freedom it represented. Commander Loritha's forces surrounded them, weapons charged. The mountain air crackled with tension as Tessa stood protectively in front of Ethan, her golden aura pulsating with energy. The Council has declared you a biological threat, Lorith announced. Surrender now and your human will be spared. You're lying, Tessa replied calmly. The Council fears what I represent, the truth about our past. Loritha's silver eyes narrowed. What truth? That we weren't meant to be isolated. That our greatest strength comes through connection, not separation. She reached back for Ethan's hand, their fingers intertwining. The resulting surge of energy made the trackers step backward. Our ancestors could form bonds with compatible species, Tessa continued. It's how we evolved before the purification. The Council erased this from our history because it threatened their control. Lorith hesitated, his disciplined facade cracking. That's impossible. Then explain this. Tessa directed a stream of golden energy toward a nearby boulder, disintegrating it instantly. Explain how I can access abilities no modern Kaldarian possesses. Several trackers exchanged uncertain glances. Tessa sensed their doubt, the first crack in their perfect loyalty. She carries the forbidden genetics, one tracker whispered. Just like the prophecy. Enough. Lorith raised his weapon. Take them both. What followed was unlike any battle Earth had witnessed. Tessa moved with supernatural grace, deflecting energy blasts and redirecting them toward her attackers. Through their bond, she channeled strength to Ethan, enabling him to fight alongside her. The forest resonated with energy discharges and the crash of falling trees. Trackers fell one by one, stunned but not killed. Tessa refused to become what the Council claimed she was. Finally, only Lorith remained standing, his silver uniform scorched and torn. You could have been the greatest of us, he said bitterly. I never wanted greatness, Tessa replied. I wanted truth. She approached him, hand extended. Feel it for yourself, Lorith. The awakening isn't something to fear. Something in her words reached him. Hesitantly, he lowered his weapon. The Council will send others, he warned. Not if they understand what's actually happening here. Tessa placed her hand on his shoulder, sharing a fraction of her energy. Lorith gasped as golden light briefly tinged his skin. For one moment, his rigid Kaldarian control faltered, and wonder crossed his face. Tell them, she said softly. Tell them we've been wrong. Tell them there's another path. When the Kaldarian ships departed Earth's atmosphere, Tessa and Ethan stood watching from the mountainside. Her transmission, sent through Lorith's command ship, would reach sympathizers within the Kaldarian resistance. The truth about their evolutionary history could no longer be suppressed. Will they come back? Ethan asked, his arm around her waist. Eventually. But not as conquerors, as seekers. They returned to rebuild Ethan's cabin, creating a home that blended both their worlds. Tessa's knowledge of advanced technology complemented his understanding of Earth's ecosystems. Together, they established a sanctuary for others like them, beings caught between worlds. As months passed, Tessa's transformation stabilized. Her golden skin and purple-gold eyes remained, physical markers of her awakened state. Through their continuing bond, Ethan too began changing subtly, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, extended lifespan. Their connection had transformed them both. One evening, as they sat beside a fire under Earth's stars, Tessa placed Ethan's hand on her abdomen. I've been scanning my cellular changes, she said, eyes bright with emotion once forbidden to her people. Our genetic compatibility is greater than I imagined. Ethan's expression shifted from confusion to amazement as understanding dawned. You mean? New life, she confirmed. The first natural Kaldarian conception in 7 centuries. A child of both our worlds. He pulled her close, overwhelmed. I thought your people couldn't. We were engineered not to form bonds that would allow it, she explained. But the awakening restored what was taken from us. Their child would be something unprecedented, carrying both human compassion and Kaldarian abilities. A bridge between species, just as the ancient texts had foretold. As night deepened, Tessa gazed upward at the stars that had once been her home. She no longer felt like an exile. Here, with Ethan, she had discovered freedom beyond anything her former world could offer. The fire within her, once frightening in its intensity, now burned steadily, a constant reminder of the connection that had given her new life. And whatever challenges came next, they would face them together, two beings from different worlds who had found something remarkable in each other's arms. something that transcended the boundaries between stars.